Oops, shit. You were on a loop then. Oops, I don't know what happened.
I heard it's on a loop shit in the middle of that quote. I think we ought to just superimpose that in.
Yeah. Of course. Let's start off with something news. So recently, a good friend of ours, Mr. Isaacs, sadly lost somebody very, very close to him. Do you know what I mean? It's really sad. Do you know what I mean? The whole thing.
Yeah, it is. It was an unexpected passing of Jessica, who was the girlfriend of our old pal JFB, and it's very, very sad. It was a sudden passing, and we just wish him well. And we've been in touch with him. I know I've been in touch with him just to make sure that he's all right, and he seems to be managing the best he can right now. So we just wanted to kind of pay some respects and show that we're still in solidarity. We may not be part of the AFW network. I guess I kind of still am part of the AFW network anymore, but we're still a family.
Absolutely. So to start, obviously, today's show, we're going to be doing a 10 bell salute for Jessica. So here we go. So I've just realised what I actually did. I actually put the Jessica thing on a loop just in case it didn't actually cut out. So that's why the intro one kind of played on a loop.
Oh, okay. I got you.
So a little technical difficulty, but you know what? I mean, that's what happens when you're live, right?
we got to have technical snafus. I mean, it just wouldn't be a proper Saturday without it.
Of course it wouldn't, of course. So, Mr. Isaacs, weekly catch-up, man. How's your week been?
Oh, it's been all right, man. I ended up not going to class because I was driving around my truck and it was -5 degrees here in Kentucky.
Oh, wow.
And the fucking thing wouldn't heat up.
Ouch.
So I had no heat and I about froze to death. And so I was like, okay, what's going on here? Why do I not have heat? So I raised the hood, looked under it, and it looks like the coolant was super, super low.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and got a gallon, put in it, drove around for a bit. Still not hot. It's like, what the fuck? So then I went and bought 2 more gallons, and I put another whole gallon in it. Now we're back to being hot again. So I just needed to make sure it wasn't some kind of mechanical issue that I was going to have to get fixed. Because I've had a lot of, you and I have talked about this in the past. I've had a lot of work done to that damn truck. I love my truck, but it's become a bit of a money pit for me the past couple of years. But thankfully, adding the coolant was the only thing I had to do. And it's now blowing hot again. But yeah, so I ended up missing class because I was kind of freaked out and running back and forth to the gas station, buying antifreeze to put in it. And so, yeah, good times. But it was really, really, really fucking cold here this week.
Wow. I mean, the thing is, I mean, you mentioned it there. I mean, the amount of money you probably put into that truck, you could buy a whole new truck.
I've put at least $2,000 in it over the past year. Yeah.
Wow.
Which is a lot for maintenance. Yeah. I mean, that's just horrible. Hopefully I don't have anything else. But that really worried me though, man. I was like, oh God, if there's something else wrong with this damn thing, like I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Piss another $1,000 away, I guess.
Yeah, of course. Like I said, for me, obviously it's been a busy week. I mean, obviously I've had work. This is my 4th show in 4 days. It's been a super busy, obviously, on the podcast type thing. But you know what? This is where we do it. Do you know what I mean? We enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? And we have an absolute blast.
Yeah, man. Like I saw that you were busy. You had some things going on, some podcast related activities.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to kind of recap that for us?
Yeah, of course. So on Wednesday, I spoke to referee Rich Swift. That was pre-recorded, so that was obviously going to drop on the Thursday. We then obviously had a pre-show for Wrestling in Newcastle, which is obviously a big shit. Our good friend Stevie Arm's obviously heavily involved in that, so I do kind of help him out doing some like promotional stuff for them. Immediately after, then on Friday, yesterday, I spoke to somebody who's obviously on that show today in Alexander Henry, and you know what? I absolutely love it, man. Do you know what I mean? Just listen to the stars and stuff like that, and it's just incredible, man. I mean, 71 interviews now we're up to.
That's amazing, dude. Absolutely amazing. Bravo to you, man.
Of
The
course,
hardest
man.
working man in podcasting in the British scene.
Of course it is. And Haney, what about you, man? How's your week been?
Yeah, pretty much the same. Work, no play.
Yeah. How's the weather been? Obviously, 'cause I know the storm's pretty big and bad in Scotland.
That has been absolutely wild. Yesterday was just there was a red warning,
Mm-hmm.
and so we're, like working from home. Fiona was told to work from home. All the schools were closed. You know, this was all happening on Thursday. Sitting there
Wow.
eating my dinner, and all of a sudden, wah 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 wah. So this was the first time that Scotland's been able to use this early warning system, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, damn near shat myself, you know, because my phone's going, my tablet's going, Fiona's phone's going, her tablet's going, and I'm thinking, fuck, the 3-minute warning, the Russians have hit the button. What am I going to do?
They're finally finishing us off, damn it.
But
Take cover.
what was it? Yeah, so what was it? And then yesterday was just a write-off. It was just 100-mile-an-hour winds, you know. What was it called? Fence.
Yeah, fence. I remember you saying before we came on the air that it's destroyed your fence.
The sort of what was it? Rubbish everywhere. What was it? Yeah, just that was it essentially, you know. So all excitement.
That sucks, man. I've been there.
But yeah,
I've had that happen before.
I did remember to eventually change my underwear after the alarm. What was it? But I finished my dinner first.
He doesn't have a bowl of chocolate pudding in his underpants.
Oh wow!
That's a Black Sheep quote from Chris Farley, if you remember.
It's funny. There was one time I was at the airport. What was it? And you know, you go through and what was it? They put you through the body scanner and things like that, and then it says like, so this time they sent me aside, put me to the side, and the guy started putting gloves on, and I went, oh, here we go. But fortunately, none of that happened.
Time to bend over and spread them, Haney.
Yeah, and then, but it's quite funny. So we flew into one year we flew into Melbourne in Orlando. And so we got off the plane, we go through the border control things. We're just at the last bit, and then this policewoman steps in front of us and goes, "Excuse me, sir, can I pull you to the side?" Yes. And she goes, "Are you carrying any guns or explosives?" I went, "No," and she says, "Okay, on your way." I was like, I'm glad you took my word for it.
That's funny.
Obviously look trustworthy. Yeah, you know, but yeah, great stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Is this one of your trips to Disney World?
Yes, this is one of my trips to Disney
Did you
World.
have Mickey Mouse ears on?
Yeah, well, yeah, we were decked out in Disney stuff, so probably, yeah.
Like, yeah, this guy ain't blowing shit up. All right, he's going to Disney World. He's got the ears on and everything. Just let him go.
Yeah, he's a grown-ass man.
Yeah, just keep going, guys.
Disney adults are not intimidating or not. They're not violent at all. So just let them go.
No.
Yeah. So, I mean, did you guys see the thing with GCW and PCO? Mr. Adams, did you see that?
I did. I believe it or not, I actually watched this GCW show. I went back on demand and watched it. because it sounded like it had some interesting things. And I was curious about the Tom Pestock match with Josh Barnett. I wanted to see that, and there were some ECW originals I wanted to check out. Tajiri was there, super crazy. It was an interesting card for sure. But yeah, I saw the PCO thing. It was on the pre-show. They had some kind of battle royal, which I didn't really pay much attention to, but I guess PCO is like the TNA, what is it, the digital champion or some shit like that. I don't know, but he had a TNA belt. The announcers clearly didn't want to talk about it. And he puts the belt on a chair, cuts a promo about how he was such a big draw in TNA, and proceeds to take a sledgehammer and beat the shit out of the belt. I thought this was fantastic. GCW freaked out about it because a bunch of officials, the announcer tried to stop him mid-swing. I was like, that's kind of bold.
Yeah.
Like, he grabbed PCO's arm mid-swing. I was like, bro, if he dropped that and it landed on your foot's gone. Like, why are you risking yourself to save a TNA championship belt? Like, it was very strange. GCW cut away to ads, and then they literally never mentioned it the rest of the show.
Yeah. So, Annie, apparently in the lights of all this, number one, apparently PCO is not under contract with TNA, and number two, apparently that wasn't obviously the original title.
Yeah, apparently it was a replica.
Yeah.
So as the story goes, from what I've heard, he was offered a deal, and then he says, "No, we're not going to give you that deal. But we're not going to pay you that. We're going to give you this deal." And then he says, "No, we're not even going to give you that." So his contract was due to run out, and I'm guessing he was due to drop the belt to somebody. Don't know who. Maybe there's a wrestler called Crypto, if it's a digital belt, all these belts, But supposedly that's his side of the story,
Well, what if they had a new character like Suicide, but he was called Crypto, but with a K? It's like he's now going up against Crypto for the digital title.
Yeah. Oh my God, he's just hit the Bitcoin.
Oh no, he's
Doge driver. He could do the Doge driver.
Yeah, he just put him in the Trump coin submission.
That'd be hilarious.
That'd be brilliant and stuff like that. Now, sticking with TNA, I mean, obviously TNA Genesis was last weekend, and Jordan Grace obviously is no longer working with TNA, but I think the biggest talking point is Tessa Blanchard's reaction in the ring. Let's be honest.
I saw a clip of that. The crowd was chanting, what, you're a racist, or she's a racist, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. But to be honest, with everything obviously Tessa's done, is this to be expected?
I think so. I mean, I highly doubt that she was like taken off guard by it and didn't expect it. I mean, to be quite frank, we're living in a world today where people don't forget shit you said 5, 10, 25 years ago. It's all coming to light. So, I mean, she had to know that this was going to happen. Like, she had to know. And I'm sure TNA probably knew as well.
I've always wondered if a guy that bought that what was it, shitting video, but was it audio from the cameo? if he burnt it in disgust because he was a racist.
I don't even know what's to that, I'll be honest with you.
Now, I don't. Now, Haney, was that actually ever confirmed that it was her? I know that
the audio's out there. What was it? Jim Cornette and Brian Last actually listened to it on the Jim Cornette show.
Oh, I know. I heard that clip, but they also said they didn't know 100% if it was her, but they believe that it was.
Yes.
It's one of the funniest podcast clips that you could find, if you could find that. They might not have it on YouTube now because I think they tried to clean up their YouTube channel a bit.
Yeah.
Because I noticed Cornette's clips now, they censor out fuck and it's like, come on. You can't censor fuck and put Cornette out there. I mean, come on.
There's no podcast without the word fuck where we can't.
I know. Fuck is a big part of the show.
Yes.
Like, come on now.
Exactly. But the good thing is with TNA, I mean, this partnership with WWE, it's actually been official now. Do you know what I mean? There's obviously a long-term working relationship. So, and the good thing is, I think we saw NXT Tag Champs on TNA. So this is kind of interesting, Mr. Isaacs.
It is, yeah. I mean, I think it's beneficial. It's mutually beneficial for both parties. NXT gets to, work with some other talents and kind of learn under some different people. And, TNA obviously needs all the exposure they could possibly get.
Mhm.
And there's no better exposure than being involved in the wrestling company that people identify with professional wrestling. So, I mean, I think it's a mutually beneficial partnership. I do wonder if eventually this is going to lead to WWE buying TNA. I think that is a very real possibility.
Interesting, ain't it?
I think, yeah, I think the WWE wouldn't let anybody else get hold of it if it was the case. I do think it's going to run sort of separate because I suspect Anthem use run the TNA as a bit of a sort of what was it? They've obviously what was it? Being in entertainment and things like that, they can get sort of grants and things like that from what was it? Running shows in certain areas and at certain times and things like that. So it's an interesting one. People think it's just a straight business, but there's a lot of complexity from what I understand to the whole DNA business model. You know,
Yeah.
it's the same with AEW. What a lot of people don't realize about AEW now is because they like to bang on about it. Man, they're only 5 years old, which I think it's an absolute fallacy that considering the sort of lineage they've got in terms of talent, but they're now at that 5 year startup period, so a lot of grants and all that disappear. And somebody made a
Yeah.
valid point about Vegas, and Double or Nothing. What was it called? They were getting a lot of tax breaks in Vegas, so what was it? Is that the reason why they've moved Double or Nothing? What was it? Because they're no longer getting that sort of nice sort of. I think a few podcasts covered it last year, how much money they were claiming back, and that's where they found out, like, what was it, per show when they go to Vegas, that it's silly money, the salary, and it's like millions of pounds. It's insane. I'll try and find the clip and send it to you.
I'm sure it is because Nevada is one of the states in the United States that doesn't have an income tax for its civilians, for its citizens. Reason being is that obviously gambling in Vegas brings in a shit ton of revenue. So, like, if they don't have an income tax, they have to recoup that somehow, and they're going to recoup that through other what they call consumption taxes, which is what kind of tax would be on like a wrestling show that ran in Vegas. So yeah, I mean, if they're outside of the tax credit window, then yeah, they're probably having to pay really exorbitant taxes moving forward, which would make sense why they moved out.
Yeah, but I mean, again, that's just speculation. But there's a lot of truth in when you read about business, and I think what was it? That makes perfect sense, as a reason as to why,
Yeah.
But it's certainly interesting, but sorry, I digressed away. But yeah, in terms of TNA, it's a great opportunity. What was it for TNA and NXT? The sort of talent to go up and down. We'll see in a year or two where it sort of lands. Again, I think I personally think the New Japan relationship between New Japan and AEW has been not very beneficial for New Japan because they've lost a lot of talent.
Yeah.
Because this talent's in AEW shows and they've got people in their ear about money. There's probably a lot of what was it? As much as WWE are accused for it, and probably have done, there's a lot of sort of talent sort of tapping going on when they're at these events. If you come in, what was it? A bit nefarious as well, because everybody knows when what was it? Sort of New Japan talent's up mostly, especially for sort of foreigners. It's end of January. It always has been. They get 1 year deals.
Yeah.
So, they've lost a lot of talent. So hopefully TNA don't suffer the same thing. But it looks like they're already starting to because there's quite a few left.
Yeah, exactly. So it remains to be seen on that. So I've just typed in wrestling news AEW just to see what comes up, and the first thing I've got is I want to get your thoughts on it, Mr. Isaacs. Is Eric Bischoff said on his recent podcast saying Tony Khan should consider listening to the AEW audience. Have we been saying this for weeks anyway?
Oh, for sure. The bad thing is I think the AEW audience mostly is the hardcores.
Mm-hmm.
And the hardcores are just going to be like, everything's great, everything's wonderful. I think maybe listen to wrestling fans in general. Yeah. I mean, the show is just so bland here lately.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is. Like, I thought the Death Riders thing was going somewhere, and it's really not. Kenny Omega comes back, and it's just, well, let's just thrust him right back in the Callis family thing and just fucking ignore everything that went on with the Bucks and everything, and have him not mention it. It's like, I just don't understand this. It's not. It's dull. It's going creatively. It's like they're just going backwards.
Yeah. They're so like the hardcore are so transfixed with these so-called what was it dream matches, what was it and it's like, listen, dude, I seen Osprey and Ricochet do that dream matches are banging on about like 8 years ago, and it was as stupid then as it's stupid now.
I saw that same match in Evolve a decade ago.
The same match, exactly.
Exactly the same match, same spots and everything.
And what was it? I mean, I was arguing with people over the thing because, like, what was it? I sort of disagree with what Mark Cardona was saying about the tribalism thing. What was it? Because a lot of people like say it's like tribalism. It says people need to realise that an opinion is not tribalism. When somebody doesn't like something, doesn't matter if there's 5 or 6 people that like the same thing. If I've got an opinion, what was it? I'm going to express, express why I don't like it. What was it? In a sort of discussion forum. That's an opinion. The one that's been tribalistic in that situation is the person complaining that, like, oh, you're being negative or you're just shitting on it. They're the one that's been tribalistic. And that's the way I feel about it. You should be able to like talk about it and express your opinion on things, which people seem to have they seem to have the wrong perspective of what tribalism is. Tribalism is if you say anything wrong about something I love, that means you're being tribalistic. You're hating. You're being negative. Doesn't matter that they've got legitimacy around it. And eventually, a lot of stuff comes to fruition that people agree with. Like, people are starting to come round and see what Chris Jericho is now. An absolute shit show. That match with Dax was absolutely horrible.
That was awful. I brought that up to some of our cohorts, and I brought it up to Crickets.
Yeah,
nobody wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, even it's like eventually like they come. Punk was the same thing. All through the sort of Punk thing. What was it? At AEW, I was saying he's not a good fit for AEW. It's all going to hit the shit's going to hit the fan with Punk. Because if you know what sort of person he is, no, he's great. You'll just sting me. What was it? And then all of a sudden he's out the door. He's in the WWE, and he was this guy. He was that. Britt Baker was getting it last week as well. It's like, what was it? All of a sudden, she's obviously what was it? This and that. And it's like, and then they had brought out the whole sort of cheating story around Britt. It's like, who cares? She's denied it.
Yeah.
But they were quite happy to butter her up because they wanted what was it, Adam Cole. I nearly says Andy Cole there, but was it Liam?
Yeah, that's a football, Haney. Come on.
Yes. All football is rubbish, but not as rubbish as Andy Cole. Nah, 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 nah,
I have no clue who you're talking about, but that song sounds cool.
He's a footballer.
What was it called? But now that she's split up with him, it's like, oh, she's this and that. And it's like, how fickle can you be? It's insane. And that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen with EW. Eventually, people are going to. I've said it from the beginning. There's going to come a point where people are going, like 5 years from now, they're going to look at the Young Bucks, for example, and go, "No, that wasn't very good." Because if you compare it with all the other stuff that was going on, but we'll see.
We will. Right then. So we've enough rambling on, guys. Should we get into the main event? Here we go.
The main event.
Bingo. So before we obviously hand it over to Haney this time, we're going to do our little mid-session interval. This is where obviously we promote upcoming shows from the UK scene, and then I'll explain obviously what happens after.
Oh, it isn't time for going slow. Oh, the greatest road in drowned all that we know. Great monsters hide inside halos, with jackals disguised down below. Shadows have faded on the lion's den. Those pastures predicted in scrolls. Hey, don't let wandering family glory.
Haney, can you make that song longer? Because it is kind of catchy.
Yes, I can make that song longer.
Slamma Mia!
That's
what
a show.
I'll call that.
That's a show in London, and it's actually Right Camera who's been on this show. And do you know what? It's very, very interesting show. I recommend that to anybody. So yeah, all shows which fans have obviously just seen there. The links obviously to each one's in the description. Go check them out. Go support British wrestling and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? And that's all we want, really, to be honest with you.
Yep.
Let's shout out Tiffany. She's in the chat today.
What's
Hello.
going on, Tiffany?
Hi.
Welcome to the show. So yeah, Haney, obviously we did part 1 last week. We just talked about philosophy and stuff like that. So this is obviously part 2, mate. So I'll hand you over to you.
Okay, no worries. So, do you want me to do a recap of last week, or are we fine with that? Obviously, we went over psychology, storyline, selling.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's obviously in part 1 if people want to go check that out. So
Yeah.
decent discussion, but I feel like the 3 today are just as important, let's be honest.
Yep. So today we've got first thing we've got match types.
Mm-hmm.
So what was it? I think that's one of the what was it? Match types are one of the most creative. What was it? Elements of a pro wrestling. As you know, you've got your standard matches, you've got your tag matches, and then you've got your what was it? Your gimmick matches. What was it? We know what the WWE would do with their gimmick matches. We know what AEW do with their gimmick matches. We know what TNA have got. You know. So, but was it? And they become very synonymous with that specific brand. You know. What was it? One of the most famous ones is probably the War Games. Now, a lot of people have seen what the WWE do, but what was it? It was totally different back then in WCW. I highly recommend going and watching them. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on the match types?
Mr. Isaacs, I'll let you start this one.
Yeah, match types seem to be. It kind of seems to me like match types grew in number and abundance when overall shows increased, like televised shows. So it's like you have a feud between wrestler A and wrestler B, and they wrestle a standard wrestling match. And then, you gotta kind of switch things up or it's going to be boring, but we still need content for next month. So let's do, why don't we just put a cage on it, or with a roof on top of it? Why don't we just stick a ladder in there? It's like, to me, it kind of became a mechanism for extending feuds and stories, extending storytelling because of the creation of additional shows. I mean, back in the old days, for one thing, there wasn't pay-per-view, and another thing, there wasn't one every single month.
Yep.
And it's like you have to keep generating new things and new ideas. And I think gimmick matches kind of grew out of the market necessity of needing extra mechanisms for storytelling.
Yeah, and I think the thing is with match types as well is I always remember when I first got into wrestling, obviously you had your cage match, but then to expand that you've got Hell in a Cell, but then to expand that you've got elimination chamber. So it just grew and grew and grew, do you know, and stuff like that. It's okay, how many more people can you put into a cage? And then you got War Games again, more people into a cage. I'm just I lose track eventually, but I think they've adapted over time. But I think sometimes though they do get a little bit comedic, and I don't actually like that as a fan. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You mean you didn't enjoy Abdullah the Butcher getting put in the electric chair?
No.
And Cactus Jack pulling the lever and shocking him to death on WCW pay-per-view?
No. Listen, I don't mind comedic wrestling. Do you know what I mean? I like it, but there's just some parts to it where you just think, "Oh Jesus, what is going on?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Talking about a comedic, sometimes what happens is you get a company trying to play homage to something
Mm-hmm.
that was done in the past that people seem to think was so amazing, and then you end up with John Moxley and Kenny Omega and one of the worst endings to a match ever.
Now, Haney, how
because
did I know right offhand before you even said it? I knew exactly what you were talking about. You were going to talk about the Moxley Omega exploding barbed wire death match
Yes.
and harken back to Onita's matches in FMW.
Yes, it was so funny because what was it? I think I woke up half asleep because obviously it was like at 4:30 in the morning, and what was it? It's like that little meme where where you've got there's a meme online where you've got a picture of a baby. And you've got the talcum powder and it just farts and there's a little poof.
I thought it was hilarious. You got Excalibur's dorky ass. He's like, "Oh my god, who's gonna blow? Oh my god!" And all of a sudden, sparklers shoot out of the corners.
Do you know what really got me with that is that Eddie Kingston sold it like he'd been like blown up or something.
Like he was in Vietnam with grenades going around him, like in Forrest Gump.
Well, to be fair to Eddie, he would have heard the loud bang. I'm not a big fan of Eddie fan, but it was just the build up here as well. It was like, wah, wah, wah. Oh no, we can't stop this. It's got to explode.
Do you remember the aftermath in when Tony Khan said in a thing saying that Kenny Omega screwed up? I'm like, what? No, you screwed up. Let's be honest.
Yeah, really. Like Kenny Omega was in the ring fucking wrestling. How did he mess it up?
Yeah. Oh, it's like
that was that was one of the most cringy, embarrassing things I think I've ever seen on a wrestling show.
Yeah.
I think the best part of that though is I think the week after where Omega says to Don Callis, "Quick, 69 me."
Yeah, he did say that, didn't he? I remember seeing that on like Botchamania or something. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair to John Moxley, he was obviously visibly pissed. That was about it all. It was sort of embarrassing the sort of whole thing. And I mean that's not the only bad sort of gimmick one. You've obviously got. What was it when WCW tried to do the Ready to Rumble? What was it match?
Oh, the what the fuck was that called? I wouldn't say King of the Mountain, but that's what they called it in TNA.
Yeah, yeah. But was it for anybody else? What was it? What was it at the time? It was what was it? They were already doing that on TV. It was called the Pyramid, and I think it was Donny Osmond that was doing.
Didn't TNA, like when Vince Russo was obviously in charge, do some stupid ones like Reverse Royal Rumble where they've got to get in the ring? I'm like, what?
That's so stupid.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so dumb.
What was it? You do have like very important ones though. You like the Royal Rumble, which is coming up, and that's quite a significant one because that obviously then became part of who was going to be wrestling at WrestleMania for the world title. So some of them do have like big stories. Money in the Bank was really good to begin with. When it was in WrestleMania, it meant something. Now, what was it? It's too gimmicky. I don't like it. Obviously talking about. Let's not just like embarrass AEW. What about WWE when they were in Titan Towers? I think what was it? Dom was murdered when he was thrown off the top of the.
Baron Corbin killed Rey Mysterio at the top of the building. That was so stupid. Oh my god!
But yeah, there is various matches that are sort of. What was it? You just feel that, like, what were they thinking? But there is ones that just expand, and there is stuff that's rehashed stuff. Like the Elimination Chamber was really War Games. Let's be honest,
War Games is singles, basically.
Yeah, and Hell in a Cell WWE didn't come up with Hell in a Cell. That was done way back. What was it? What was it? That was done way back. We need to move on, obviously. But what was it? I've got
We've
a
got
story.
plenty of time, mate. Can carry on.
What was it? But there was a funny one. What was it? I was at. It was a show in what was it, up north, and what was it? Believe it or not, Roddy Piper was there. Chavo Guerrero was there. What was it? Tatanka was there. So it was a really cool event, and the main event was a cage match, right? Yeah.
Yep.
But this promotion, it turned out, had never done a cage match before. So
Oh wow.
I don't know what they were. I don't know what possessed them to do it. So the cage was like, how do you put it? Like, you know, like wired fencing. They obviously nicked it off a builder's yard or something. Right. So the match starts, and then the cage starts falling and collapsing and everything. So.
Some kid in the front row catches like the right side of the cage.
So it's quite funny. I mean, yeah. Let's talk about kayfabe for a minute. What was it? So the next thing we know, the whole roster's running out, right? Yeah, and all of them are round the side, and they're all holding up this cage, right? Yeah.
It becomes a lumberjack match impromptu.
Yes. And what was really funny is the guys that what was it? Who earlier in the what was it? In the night, like, we're facing each other in this extreme wrestling match. We're just standing next to each other, talking away, holding the stage.
Like, what the fuck do we do now?
Yeah.
So you mentioned obviously then about, you know, like unique matches. I mean, obviously TNA had like Lethal Lockdown, which I thought was unique and stuff like that. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah. I mean, TNA said some really cool concept matches. Do you want to explain? What was it? That one a bit more?
Yeah, so
remember that one?
Yeah, so Lethal Lockdown is kind of like, obviously every so often people enter the cage and then like the top comes down. It's just got loads of like weapons and stuff. And I thought,
oh yeah. I remember now. Yeah. What was it? I was trying to remember if it was the one where they had the weapons in the Ultimate X match. I couldn't remember, but which was stupid. You know, you've already got guys dangling like what was it 20 feet up on a rope trying to climb across for a what was it to get a belt, and then you start hanging chairs and baseball bats.
Yeah,
that Ultimate X was wild, man.
But
those guys hated doing that.
Yeah. Didn't somebody get seriously injured in that? Is that not the match where Chris Candito got injured?
I know there was quite a few injuries with that. I remember reading it.
Yeah. Or the match he came back and then was that the one where we got the infection? I can't remember.
The super dangerous type of match for sure.
Yeah, and he ultimately lost his life on that because he had the blood clot. He came back too soon, which is a real shame because he was a fantastic wrestler. And then obviously you've got obviously the WWE likes diversity. So way back when we had this match, between Harvey Wimpleman and Howard Finkel, you know. So, you just couldn't. I mean, it would be unfair to leave the ladies out. So eventually, the WWE had this match called the Bra and Panties match. So, what was it called? With
men, it was the tuxedo match, right? Yeah. He had to rip the tuxedo off the other guy. Yeah.
I mean, the first sort of like cinematic match, if you think about it, we've seen was Roddy Piper and Goldust.
Yeah, Hollywood Backlot Brawl.
And it's just totally random when he's taking off his trunks and all of a sudden he's got suspenders and.
What was the match we at Patterson and Briscoe? Was it like hardcore evening gown match or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah, and that was one of the first pay-per-views I watched, and I was scarred for quite a few weeks on that. Sorry, please continue.
Yes, so what was it? So there are some quite significant matches in history that use gimmick matches. So obviously the Royal Rumble's a big one, you know. Famous match. I think the most famous Rumble's probably the Ric Flair one for me anyway.
Yeah, 92.
The most significant one. what was it called? Iron Man match, Brett, HBK. You know, what was it, the ladder match, HBK, Razor Ramon. You know,
Yep.
means so much. You know, so these TLC. You know, we know what the TLC get like. Basically, 3 teams just absolutely doing stupid stuff in the ring. You know, for no reason.
It made all 3 of them legends.
Yeah, right.
Because
There.
everybody remembers those matches.
Yeah, I don't know if it was it. Somebody says to me that but was it for all the times they've done TLC matches in WWF and WWE and other promotions, the Hardys haven't actually won one. So Jeff needs to well, he's not going to do it now. He's a bit older now and hopefully a bit wiser. But you never know.
I'm not sure how much wiser he is, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And when you said that wiser, I'm like, really? We're about the same person here?
How about we say more experienced?
Yeah, more experience. We'll go with that.
Yes, experienced. Yes, he's got a voice that only a mother could love.
He did a decent cover of what was it? Nutshell by Alice in Chains.
Yeah,
You could find a video of him singing that with his band in some dive bar somewhere, and it wasn't bad. I thought he sounded all right.
But was it? I had a friend who thought he could sing like Lane Staley, and he was not. You know, he used to think they used to do live gigs, and he would come off and how was that? And I would go, that was shit, mate. And he always thought I was being sarcastic, but I was really meaning it was shit. You know,
it's hard to be as good. I mean, you can't be as good as Lane Staley. He's one of the greatest of all time.
No, I mean, this guy thought he was Lane Staley and Jeff Buckley rolled into one. I was like, get a grip of yourself. Yeah. The thing I always say about Jeff singing is the people that complain about it says, listen, but was it the music means something more to him than it does to you. If you want to do your autocorrect sort of everything sounds right tune, you know, what was it? Then go be it, you know. What was it? AI is obviously a big thing in that. So everything sounds generic and the same, you know. But
yeah.
You know, he's putting his heart and soul in it. He loves it. That's all that matters.
Yeah,
basically. But sorry, I know we ranted on too much about the matches. So we're going to talk about the sort of styles. So, as you know, various styles of wrestling can tie into the various types of matches there are. So you've got your technical, you've got your brawlers, you've got your submission wrestlers. You know, you've got your high flyers, and then you've got your sort of breaking into sort of your sort of different sort of areas around the world. You've got your lucha, you've got your Japanese style. What was it called? There's a whole blend and a whole diversity of wrestling. And one of the things that amazes me about wrestling is I think how well all these styles blend together. Mm-hmm. You know, what was it? How a wrestler from Mexico can go wrestle somebody from Japanese. Neither can speak each other's language, and they can just put on an absolute flawless match. You know, that's the true art of wrestling, there, isn't it?
Yeah. Shout out to Ultimo Dragon.
Yeah,
he was kind of one of the first to do that.
Yeah,
to do Mexico and Japan.
Oh, he was absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
He was...
One of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
Like low key, one of the best wrestlers you're gonna find.
Yeah,
is Ultimo Dragon.
100%.
He runs a wrestling school now, doesn't he?
What's that?
I think he runs a wrestling and a martial arts school now. I'm sure I read.
I believe he does. Yeah.
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 Yeah, and one thing I like about when you mentioned styles there is like in matches, like when styles like different styles collide, I think it makes it unique because sometimes we spoke about it with Ricochet and Will Ospreay. It's kind of like I don't want to really see this, but I want to see a high flyer versus like a powerhouse. You know what I mean? Just to see how that style.
Yeah.
In the match way, because I feel like that makes a better match for me. I don't know what you think, Mr. Isaacs.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So yeah, I mean, anything to add on this?
Yeah. So what was it? So obviously the different styles bring in different match types as well. So obviously, what was it in the lucha area? What was it sort of side of things? You've got your mask versus hair matches. You've got hair versus hair matches. So as I've tried to link all these things. All these things sort of tie into each other. All these 6 elements that we're talking about of the art of wrestling are really important. They all have a sort of a cohesiveness amongst each other. But I think What was it? Definitely in terms of style, I think. What was it? Lucha's probably got the most heritage in terms of what's important. You know, and I think you probably got Lucha, then you've got the Japanese stuff. The American style is very much everything. You know, a bit of everything. But you go to Mexico. What was it? The tradition. I mean, there's wrestlers that are buried in their mask because
Yeah.
they never took it off. You know,
Yeah.
that's how important it was. You know, and what was it?
El Santo and his old school like John Wayne movies.
Yeah, but obviously mask here as well is a big thing. What was it? What was it in the sort of the South American scene? Obviously, you lose your hair. You know, what was it? It's a great disrespect. But was it over the years the sort of North American style is treated a lot of these things as sort of almost like comedic, like Trump and McMahon. You know, with their thing. But was it Edge versus Kurt Angle?
I remember
yeah,
that.
Yeah, that was a really fun. That was a really sort of fun one. But yeah, different match types have different things. You know, they do. Sometimes wrestling promotions do stupid things. Take Rey Mysterio for example in WCW. They took the mask off and you know, so which was just dumb. Two reasons. Could have ended his career right there. You know, fortunately Ray had Conan and things like that round about him, and we've got a really cool faction out of it. And B, why weren't WCW making money out of that mask? You know, absolutely insane that they never thought to merchandise that.
Well, Haney, they got to align Rey Mysterio with Master P then. Okay.
Yes.
So you can't question the marketing genius there.
Dear.
Yeah.
But anything to add in it? I mean, I've got nothing to add in. I mean, we both covered it pretty well.
Nothing to add. And then the last element that I want to talk about is the fans themselves. You know, so wrestling fans, I think are like are not like any other in the world. You know, but was never trust a wrestling fan because they'll flip on a dime. You know, what was it? Whether they cheer or they boo, you know, they bring a lot of the energy to the storylines. A lot of times they what was it? Try to dictate where the storylines go, and if they're not happy, you know, for many years the WWE suffered from the fans fighting against everything they were trying to do. You know, it was basically like a chalk and cheese scenario. What was it? What was it called? What was it? If Vince McMahon had brought what was it? He brought out a wrestler that decided to give every sort of fan what was it, $1 million each. There was turn around and say no, shove it up your arse.
I think the thing is with fan bases though as well is like sometimes like they want too much too soon. Like
Yes.
like typical like storylines, like long-term storylines, they want it there and then. And I know we spoke about that thing, Haney Joe, with like the speed type things. You know what I mean? They're wanting things instant, and I think that's just like how it's adapted over the years. To be honest,
No, definitely. What was it? And people like hardcore fans mock WWE speed, right? Yeah, but what was it? If you look at the numbers, they're having so much success with that. It's ridiculous. There's nothing to it. It's basically a 15 minutes thing on what was it, Twitter or X or whatever it's called, and they're just rushing through these matches. But that's how that is somebody that's clever and understands the market audience, because that's how people are consuming their content now. Most YouTube videos are successful. Are YouTube Shorts, TikTok. Most videos are about 2 minutes long. You know, what was it? That's how the kids are consuming it, and that's really smart. To us, that type of storyline doesn't really translate for what we want to see on television. Sometimes we get selfish as fans because we want to see what we want to see, you know.
Right.
You know, and we want things now. It's like the bloodline storyline. Oh, this is great. Oh, it's been too long. Oh, they really turned this round. This is amazing again. Nah, it's boring now. You know.
Yeah.
And then Cody's story. You know, what was it? I think one of the best examples was actually Roman Reigns right at the beginning when Roman Reigns was getting his big babyface thing. He had that big famous Royal Rumble. What was it? I think he finished third or second. I think The Rock came out and raised his hand and all that. What was at the end of it? Because obviously there was weird stuff going on around about.
Yeah.
What was it? And everybody thought, but this time next year at WrestleMania, it's going to be Roman Reigns. But next time next year, when it got to that point, everybody was booing him because they thought he
Yeah.
was the perfect stooge, you know. And that's just that's just the sort of fans, you know.
Yeah.
Some wrestlers just seem to like, what was it? Keep their audience so no matter where they go. I mean, you had basically 10 years of WWE fans hijacking like shows with like CM Punk chants or you know. What was it? Things I hate that fans do, or this is awesome, you know, fight forever, you know.
Yeah.
What was it called?
I mean,
Yeah,
Mr.
fight
Isaacs.
forever. Can you imagine like someone going to a movie and saying film forever?
Yeah.
I don't want Nosferatu to end. I want it to be 48 hours long.
Yes.
I mean, that's a good point, though. I mean, you make a point, you know, like fans following wrestlers wherever they go. I mean, prime example, like you said, CM Punk. And then the other Mr. Isaacs, Joe Hendry. I mean, look at that guy.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen a ton of Joe Hendry, but, you know, from what I've seen of him, he is a talented guy, but he got himself over with that song.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that was just wild. Like, that song took fire like nothing that I think I've ever seen in wrestling before.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
I think that plays a lot into it as well with the pop culture thing. That to me, why, like, I don't understand why. What I mean, I know people do like him, but I don't understand why people like Swerve. To me, you like him because of the song.
Mm-hmm.
It was. He doesn't show me anything that I want to see. You know.
It's kind of like building that brand up, isn't it? You know, like that fans are going to connect with.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. I think sometimes like, your fans forget that there's people who've been there a long time, and they'll say, "Well, you've had all your stuff now. It's new to us," you know. And it's like, yeah, but was it? I've still got 2 years in the 2 years in the. But was it the 18 to 45 category? So I'm part of the main demo. So screw you. Maybe in 2 years' time you can complain about me. But what was it? You know, fans are always going to sort of opinion, and they do tend to change the direction. And so that one thing I'm going to say about the fans as well, what was it? Is that was it? No offense, Mr. Isaac, but I think when the WWE comes to Europe, we really show you guys up in terms of what it is about, and like enjoying a wrestling show. You know.
But do you know what? Can I just obviously add to that? Do you know why I think that actually is? It's because obviously WWE comes to the UK. Is it like once or twice a year? Do you know what I mean? Obviously, WWE they go around obviously America a lot more. So I feel like that's why we get so pumped up because we only get to see them like once or twice a year.
So I'm gonna say, like, you guys have more enthusiasm, but the incessant singing during the shows is annoying as fuck. Like, I hate that the European crowds. It's not just the UK. I mean, France, they did it. They fucking sing through the whole show. It's like, shut the fuck up.
That's a football culture thing, though. That's a cultural thing. You know, that stems from fruit. Have you ever watched a basketball game from what was it, like Turkey?
I don't think so. No.
I'll need to send you a video. It's like an absolute riot. So they're in this arena. The bleachers are bouncing. You know, there's flags going everywhere. There's flares inside this indoor arena. The whole place is like red. Like what was it? What was it? On orange. Liam will know what I'm talking about because basically it's the Galatasaray basketball team. You know, and you know, it's a totally different culture over here to like what was it? Like your sports. You know, I'm not saying there's not that sort of loyalty, you know. But it was a lot of the sort of sport teams over here, and I don't know about the States, so I can't really speak for it. Well, I know yours is more franchised. Is there's a lifeblood into what was it? The sports that we grew up, or like in our like our great grandparents went to the games. You know, they finished on the mines on it. A shift on the mines in the Saturday morning, and they would go into the football games. You know, it was a working man sport. You know, so that's why that's why it's so ingrained, and that's where all these songs come from. You know, but yeah, I mean, what was it? Was it Raw in 2016-17, where it was in the Glasgow Hydro, and we hijacked the show for about 20 minutes because we were singing that. That it was lucky that it wasn't live; it was recorded because it was literally that. I think about 10 minutes of it made television caught up, you know. But what was it? But they were singing that stupid "Hey Bailey, you want to
Yeah.
my
That
girl?"
was the one thing that you all did that I like that. I thought that was pretty
Yeah.
cool. The "Hey Bailey, won't you be my girl?"
Yeah.
that was pretty cool. I like that. I like
But,
that. I'll give you all that one.
But I mean, what was it? I mean, there's some clever stuff comes out there, like you're just a shit Kurt Angle to what was it, Chad Gable? That was a good one. know?
There's some really
Yeah.
good chants. I mean, I will be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, but I get it might be different for you guys because that's not something you've sort of got, you know.
Yeah.
But
We're not
yeah.
a musical bunch.
Yeah.
When we go to
gathered
shows.
Yeah.
Dear. So, we're at 56 minutes. I mean, can we summarize really what we've talked about over the past 2 days, past 2 shows?
Yeah, so really, what we've done is we've talked about what I perceive to be the art of wrestling. What's important? I mean, there are other aspects, you know, but all these things are sort of intertwined. And what was it? We could what's Tiffin?
What is this? My favorite UK chant was "If you hate Zach, shoes off."
Yeah,
I don't know what that is. I'm not familiar with that one.
Any, do you want to explain on that one?
Maybe that's another show. We can find the clips of these things and we can talk about them. You know, the funny sort of right. There's like there's a really bad one. What was it? There's a really bad one at what was it, WrestleMania, right? And it's not a chant. It's a fan with a sign, right? Now the slogan. Not detail because you don't want to talk about these sorts of things on YouTube.
You're cutting out a bit there. We didn't hear it.
Sorry, and you cut out a little bit.
Not to go into too much detail about this because you don't want to talk about these things on YouTube. But there's there's a guy right.
Oh, is he gone?
Oh,
is he back? Hang on, he's backstage still. And he's still there.
Hello?
You still here, buddy?
I can still hear you, yeah.
Carry on.
And it's a sign, and it's quite clearly a fan from Scotland, and it says, what was it? And this is where you need to be sort of careful because fans can be quite clever. It says "Get Grado booked," which was the slogan. I don't know if you know, Liam, but that was the slogan for Grado. Basically, it was turning up at all these promotions trying to get booked, and they would book him. You know, it was like a sort of thing. But and underneath it says "Big Jock New," right? Yeah.
No.
So right, so you probably know what that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Right. So I'll explain to you, Mr. Isaac, when we go off. But,
okay.
But what was it called? But sometimes fans do really nasty things, and that's definitely something that comes from the British side of things.
Tony Khan wanks dogs.
Yes.
One of the funniest ones I like was sorry. One of the funniest ones I like is somebody put a QR code and like held it up, and it turns out it was actually linked to his business. I'm like, what a smart idea!
Yeah.
That's a brilliant idea. Yeah, that is.
Yes, the worst one about the Tony Khan one was he replied to it and says, "I do not."
Yeah. He's like, that's just vulgar. I don't do that.
Yeah. But yeah, so just to put some context into that, because I actually what was it know a few people well I worked with one of my former bosses, and he was sort of tied with Fulham. What was it as well as Tony like was told not to come over for like months because the fans were at lunch because and that's why I know when I was saying to people at the beginning, he's not like
Any cutting out again.
when he doesn't get his way, he can be quite nasty. Hello?
You keep cutting out, Annie. Sorry.
You're on.
It must be. Yes, sorry. When he doesn't get his way, he can be quite nasty. You know. So, and there was a few. I mean, what was it? you know how hardcore football fans can be, particularly the sort of ultras. What was it, Liam? You know, so what was it? You don't want to mess with the guys, so he's told not to come back, but eventually came back, obviously. But yeah, not good.
I saw that of course they own the Jacksonville Jaguars here in the US, and they apparently had a hard time finding a new head coach. And but they hired this guy Liam Cohen, who was the offensive coordinator of the Kentucky Wildcats for 2 seasons. So a Kentucky guy's going down there now to coach the Jacksonville Jaguars. So it'll be interesting if there's some weird stuff that comes up. It'll probably filter back to the Kentucky sports media here. So I'll let you guys know if there's any weird shit with the Cons and Cohen down there.
Did you see the documentary from the draft earlier in the year? And he's like, with the
was
neck
wearing
brace
the neck
on, and
brace.
he's like,
Yep.
and he's like, it's people saying, what happened to you? I took a Meltzer driver, and people are like, fuck, they've got like a sort of fucking idiot look.
Like, what are you talking about?
Just and obviously his dad's like, just play along, just let him do what he wants to do, you know.
Just
I
let
bet
him.
his
Just let him
dad was
loose.
giving him the death stare, like, shut the fuck up. This is serious business here, not your play wrestling.
So, Mr. Isaacs, can you summarize, like I said, what we spoke about over the past 2 shows?
Yeah, just kind of like all the different elements of the presentation of professional wrestling. You know, how it's presented, why it's done in that manner, and I think it's been a good discussion overall.
It's definitely been something different, you know. Like instead of like looking at like certain things, we basically covered all bases in it. So, and I've got to credit you, Henny, because you obviously put this show all together. It's gone again.
He must be having some. If they're having like storms and stuff, he might be having some connection issues.
Yeah, but I'm just going to say this obviously while we're live. I mean, I'm not taking no credit for this because Haney has put this show together, so massive, respect to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll obviously do the thing and then we'll bring him back on after. Obviously, he's having connection issues and stuff. So next week, we've obviously got interviews lined up. So on Monday, I've got Joseph Connors. On Thursday, we've got Drew Ashley. Stay tuned, obviously, for that. There's loads of fan questions coming in for that one. And of course, next Saturday, we're back in. I think it's the Royal Rumble show we're doing.
Yeah, that's Royal Rumble Saturday.
So we'll talk about that. Who we think's going to win the entire discussion. And yeah, I mean, as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Mr. Isaacs, you know this deal now. See us out to the outro.
I want to take an opportunity to thank you guys for you guys and gals for Miss Tram out there for tuning in today, and help us like, subscribe, share, and for anybody that's watching this on demand, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, man. Join in on the conversation. We'd love to have you. We're a growing channel here, and I wish you all well and have a great weekend and enjoy Saturday night's main event tonight.
Here we go. Roll the outro.